They say that every great mystery has three parts: the crime, the victim, and the culprit. But what if we take away the first part? What if I told you about a case where, even after more than 6 decades, the crime itself is still a complete mystery? Welcome to my channel. And today, let's delve into one of America's most enduring mysteries: the mystery of the boy in the box. It was 6:45 p.m. on February 25, 1957, and a massive blizzard was raging across Philadelphia. So when a woman out walking her dog found a small bundle near an old stone water tower, she did not think much of it. She assumed that it was some poor family's washing left out to dry. But when she went to walk past it, the bundle moved. Terrified, she ran back home and called the police. When the cops arrived at the scene, they found a small boy wrapped up in a blanket, abandoned, and alone in the middle of a raging blizzard. The officers rushed him to the hospital, but by the time he got there, the kid was already dead. He had been beaten severely around his head and torso, ultimately succumbing to his injuries. The doctors examined the body and estimated that the boy was between 4 to 6 years old, but other than that, they could not tell anything. The boy was neither clothed nor carrying any identification. Even his fingerprints were smudged due to the weather conditions, making it almost impossible for the police to identify him. As such, they took the only lead they had, the blanket he was wrapped in, and made it the centerpiece of their investigation. Blanket leads the police to a possible suspect. The police sent out the description of the blanket to all local hospitals, hoping that someone might have seen someone entering with a child wrapped in it. A few days later, a nurse from the Mutter Hospital for the Insane came forward and said that a few days prior to the murder, a patient had come in with a boy matching the description and had asked the staff to wash the blanket the boy was wrapped in. Unfortunately, the patient left before the blanket was washed, so it couldn't be collected as evidence. Plus, the staff thought that the patient had brought his son to the hospital and had no reason to believe that he had murdered the kid. The police were suspicious and immediately apprehended the man. They interrogated him for hours, but he kept denying the accusations and insisted that he had no idea how the police had connected him to this crime. Apparently, he had been at the hospital for an unrelated issue and had no connection to the murder. With no physical evidence against him, the police had to let him go. A series of events followed by radio silence. After the initial flurry of activity, the case went cold, which led to some theories. Many believed that the police botched the case, failing to collect proper evidence and follow up on leads. Others argued that the murderer was never caught, because the killer was someone prominent in society who could easily get away with murder. The truth is that none of these theories could be proven, and the case remained unsolved until 1960, when a new lead emerged. By now, the whole country was gripped by the case. Newspapers across the nation were running stories on the unidentified boy, and people everywhere were trying to help solve the case. In May 1960, a woman came forward, claiming that she had seen a man matching the description of the one seen with the boy at Mutter Hospital, except she claimed that the man was accompanied by 2 women instead of just one. She also claimed that she had seen the trio at a department store, buying clothes that matched the ones worn by the boy. Immediately, the police arrested the same man from before, but once again he proved his innocence and was released. After that, the case went into another one of its slumps, only to be jolted awake by a letter received by a local priest. The letter came from an anonymous source who claimed to know the boy's identity. The writer said that the boy's name was Joseph Augustus Zarelli, and that he had been beaten to death by his father, who then abandoned his body in the middle of nowhere. As it turned out, the writer of the letter was a friend of the family, and he had seen the father beat the child a few days prior to the murder. The police were ecstatic and immediately went to apprehend the man. But when they arrived at his house, they found that he had taken his own life. With the main suspect dead, the police began searching for clues to link him to the murder. They found out that the man had worked for the Pennsylvania Railroad as a switchman, and on the night of the murder, his boss confirmed that he had left work early and was seen taking a cab downtown. However, no one could confirm that he had actually killed the boy. Also, even though the man did indeed have a son named Joseph, the body wasn't his. It seemed as if this lead would also go nowhere. As the years passed, more theories and speculations emerged. Some said that the police had arrested the wrong man, while others said that the boy was actually the victim of a ritualistic murder. To date, over 200 people have claimed to be the boy's brother, but none of them could provide solid evidence. Likewise, over the years, many different bodies have been exhumed and examined, but none of them were a match. In 2002, the Philadelphia Police Department decided to use modern technology to solve the case. They used forensic artists to create a portrait of what the boy might have looked like, but it didn't really help. In 2019, DNA technology was used to generate a list of potential matches. But once again, none of them turned out to be correct. Where is the boy? If the boy was never kidnapped, it means that whoever killed him must have lived close by. Maybe he was a neighbor or someone from the same apartment complex. And if that's the case, the chances are that his remains have gone undiscovered all this time. Even though it's hard to imagine how an entire community could remain ignorant about something like this, stranger things have happened. Plus, the area where the body was found is right next to a popular thoroughfare. Over the years, thousands of cars would pass by that spot daily, kicking up dust that would easily have disinterred any nearby remains. So it's entirely possible that the bones could have been lying there all this time. Another explanation is that the killer disposed of the body in a different location and then returned it to the water tower to mislead the police. This theory seems more plausible since the killer would have needed to dig up the body sometime after the snow had melted. So let's assume that the killer buried the body somewhere else. Where would he have done that? Well, in all likelihood, he would have chosen a place outside of town where he could easily bury the body without being spotted. Perhaps he chose a secluded forest or maybe a deserted stretch of land on the outskirts of town. The fact is, given the resources available to the police back then, there was absolutely no way they were going to find the body. What happened to the blanket? Speaking of the evidence collected from the crime scene, whatever happened to the blanket that the boy was wrapped in? Was it destroyed after it served its purpose? Or is it still laying in some evidence locker gathering dust? See? Back in 1957, the blanket was treated like the holy grail of forensic evidence. The police meticulously preserved it, even having it dry cleaned to remove any dirt or stains. But since the dry cleaner couldn't clean off the blood, the police ended up cutting the stained portions out of the blanket. It is unknown whether those pieces were preserved or discarded, but the rest of the blanket was put on display at a local department store. The public was allowed to view it from behind a rope barrier. And anyone wishing to donate money towards a reward fund could drop off their contribution in a box placed near the blanket. Sadly, this meant that over the years the blanket became frayed and dirty as thousands of people came to see it. Eventually, the police confiscated it and stored it in an evidence locker. To date, no one knows exactly where it is or what happened to it. But one thing is certain. Whoever killed this boy robbed the world of a life that could have been filled with so much joy, laughter, and love. All we can do is hope that one day the truth comes to light and justice is finally served. And that's all for today's episode. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any of our latest videos.